the Saturn direct, which happens on Saturday, November 4th. So if you are joining us live, this is the forecast for 2 days from now. And if you're watching the replay, the cool thing about this video is even though the event of Saturn going direct happens on the 4th of November, it's actually, we're under the effect of Saturn direct Saturn will be direct until next year, next like June-ish. So that being said, this is one that will be probably longer lasting, although when the planet goes direct, that tends to be kind of a big moment for it, for themes of that planet to show up in ways that maybe they were like lingering under the surface. So that being said, tonight's video is going to go over and I feel like I'm slouching here. Tonight's video is going over Saturn direct for all signs of the zodiac. We're going to go through what it means for each sign, and then that will be what we do for this video. So you're going to get a forecast for your sign. You can watch your sun, moon, and rising. There's a lot of cool things I want to tell you about. One is readings are on sale. There's a link in the description you can click to get your 50% off. And I'm going to actually pop that in the chat here. So here we go. So it will have the link to book a reading and also the link to join to join my event on Saturday, How to Find Your Aligned Career. And even if you're watching this after, you can still join and get access to the replay. That's a free event I'm doing. So those are the two major announcements I want to make before we get into the forecast. Number one is get your reading. They're on sale. The 1 hour is 50% off. The 1.5 hour, you still save a lot by doing it. This is a good time to book with me. I don't know when I'll do another sale again, and they tend to book up pretty fast. So if you're trying to do that, make sure you do it soon so you get the time you want. Also, join the live event. It's How to Find Your Ideal Career Using Astrology, hosted by me, and it's free. So those are the two things. They're pinned in the chat. You can check them out at any time. And now on to what we are doing today in this video. In today's video, we're going through what it means, Saturn going direct for every sign of the zodiac, starting with Aries and going through Pisces. So the chart you see up on the screen is actually for the day of Saturday, Saturday the 4th, where that is the day that Saturn will be going direct. And we're going to talk about what this means for each sign. So let's talk for a second about what it means when Saturn goes direct, because I think there are a lot of misconceptions on what direct and retrograde mean. If you are here on the live, or even if you're watching the replay, I'd love it if you tell me in the comments, what do you think direct and retrograde mean? And some of you, I'm going to call you out if I think it's wrong, so don't feel bad about that. Because there's a lot of misconceptions, and a lot of the things people think about direct versus retrograde are just not accurate sometimes. Sometimes these things get kind of oversimplified with pop astrology, well-meaning pop astrologers who simplify it to the point where it's not quite the same anymore. So there's some misconceptions out there that retrograde means bad and direct means good, and that's not exactly right. So if you have retrograde planets, it doesn't mean those planets are bad. It just means that you probably have more of a story with that planet. And the story you have with that planet may have more to do with do-over. Yes, Sonia, I love this. We're gonna highlight this comment if we can. Because Sonia says retrograde means do-over. I like this. I like this because that is exactly what it does mean sometimes. Sometimes the thing that planet represents, you do at one point in your life and you're not satisfied with it, and then you go back and do it again. So this is why retrograde planets are actually linked to desire, because it's like you desire the thing badly enough to go back and fix something or rework something or redo something. Now, when it comes to the transits in the sky, well, it's not always that, right? It's the retrograde happening for Saturn, for example. Saturn goes retrograde every year. The outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, they all go retrograde half the year. So it's not like half the year is bad and half the year is good. Although I will say in general, yes, when like all planets are direct, there is more of a feeling of like cruising down the freeway kind of a thing. Whereas when other planets are not, like when a lot of planets are retrograde, it's almost like maybe it does feel like being stuck in traffic a little bit. But retrograde isn't necessarily bad and direct isn't necessarily good. But there is a feeling that when the planet goes direct, it's like we're ready to deal with that thing again or that thing moves forward again. Now, since it's Saturn, the thing that's moving forward again this Saturday may not always be the easiest stuff. It might be things we have to face related to whatever house Saturn is transiting in our chart. I highly recommend watching my Saturn and Pisces video for this because that Saturn and Pisces video has the meaning of Saturn in all the different houses. So it's a good one to catch. Also, I just want to say hey to everyone jumping on live and let's see if we can read some of these comments. Dream Music Trinity, hello. CC Way 7, hello. Sonia, I did acknowledge you. Thank you for sharing. And Fran, hello, Fran. Fran's having her second Saturn return. Yes, okay. A lot of you are sharing what's happening with your Saturn or your placements. And I realized I was going to check this out. I never did that. I'm supposed to do that. Okay, we're good. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight in this video is we are going to go through the different planets when it comes to, or we're going to go through all signs for Saturn retrograde. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. And we have the chart up already, and we're going to start with the sign of Aries. So for Aries, sun, moon, or rising, I'm wondering if I can just see it. I'm going to try to just see it without my glasses, but I don't know if I'll be able to. Okay, so for Aries, sun, moon, or rising, we're looking at Saturn going direct in your 12th house. Now, this one's pretty, I'm going to say pretty, what would you call it? Mysterious, dreamy, elusive, hard to pin down, a lot like the 12th house. One thing to know about this transit, Aries, is that Saturn going through your 12th, it can bring up subconscious fears. Now, this could be a fear of something more everyday, like, like a fear of your relationship ending or something. Or it could be more like a fear of death, right? Or like any kind of subconscious fears you've got going on. Sometimes when Saturn's in the 12th, either they can be exacerbated or you can just feel more grief, guilt, remorse, even if something you're grieving is from a long time ago. I'm thinking of this transit for myself, and it like sometimes there's things you have to face that are challenging when Saturn goes through your 12th. I can't even make this seem better. Yeah, and one of the bad sides of Saturn in the 12th is it can make you feel guilty, and that guilt might be appropriate, but it might not be. So it's like fear intensified is kind of how I feel about this one. It really does. And so, Aries, I'm sorry. I'm sorry Saturn is going direct in your 12th house. And now I need to see. So we're just going to deal with the glare a little bit. Okay, so where was I? I was telling Aries about their Saturn. Right here. Okay. So the thing is for you, Aries, Saturn rules your 10th house of career. So when your career planet goes into the 12th house, sometimes you can feel like you're working behind the scenes. So think about what was starting back in March of 2023. This is when Saturn entered that 12th house. And so this is your career planet. So think about how your work has changed to being behind the scenes or how your role in life in some way, like your public role, maybe you're more less, maybe you're more private for some reason, or somehow is focused on healing or inspiring, because those are Pisces things as well. So it's almost like working behind the scenes, getting connected to the vision, doing hypnotherapy, doing all of these things to face those subconscious fears. That would be like I would say the positive reaction to this transit. That is kind of what I would say for that. And hold on. This is driving me insane. Sorry. It just looks bad. I always go live during the day where there's beautiful natural light. But it's worth it to be here and connecting with you guys. I know you guys like these lives, and I know they're good at night because that's when you guys have time and stuff. Back to the video, and I'm not even gonna lie, it's gonna be one of those days where I'm all over the place, but we're here. So back to what is Saturn and Pisces doing for Aries? Yeah, it's just like bringing up subconscious fear and stuff, and it's putting your work behind the scenes, or your ability to be recognized. If your ability to be recognized for the work that you've done seems off right now, or just, I would say, pay attention to how your work changes on Saturday or around Saturday, and pay attention to maybe like what is happening with things like inspiration or structuring your 12th house kind of stuff. That could be like creating processes for mental health challenges for yourself or others. That could be creating processes or structured methods for meditating or doing hypnotherapy or anything involving an altered state of consciousness, or getting in touch with your dreams, or doing social work. The 12th house is really, really, oftentimes people with the 12th house, it's like they can hear the cries of the collective, or they can they can really feel connected to human suffering. So Aries out there, if you're feeling that, it's okay. It's kind of a normal part of a 12th house, Saturn 12th house transit. And I do feel like this is one to watch out for anyone who has substance use issues with this one, just because the addictive tendencies with Saturn in the 12th is no bueno. So we're going to go on to the next sign, which is Taurus. For Taurus, Saturn goes direct in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. Although it's not all rosy, Saturn's not all rosy anywhere it is. Whenever Saturn enters a sign, it's going to bring up problems. Whatever problems in that house, especially in that area of life that you have avoided up until now, Saturn's going to force you to deal with, basically. Oh, you know what we should do? Let's see if I can remember to do this. We'll see if I can remember to change these. Let's see if it works. Nope, that didn't do what I wanted. Hold on. I was trying to show this one. That was not something I wanted to show. Okay, you can see it, but it's not very big, but that's fine. We're going to have that on, and hopefully I remember. Taurus, we've got, like I said, Saturn in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. And think about what was happening back in March for you related to structuring your hopes and dreams, right? So Saturn enters that 11th house. Two of the main things that you might see happen are having to step up to some kind of responsibility in a group setting. The other kind of thing you might see happen is having to, or wanting to, like, structure, create a process for like your hopes and dreams, or like what you want to do. It's like, oh, I want to sell my art. So now when Saturn's there, you're like, okay, this is how to sell art. These are the steps you got to take. It's like taking that nebulous, far off, distant dream with Pisces on that 11th house and Neptune there, making it feel further away and more important, but also more elusive. Saturn can help you ground and put it into actual place. The things that you want, that you idealize, that you're dreaming about in your hopes and dreams and your friendships. Saturn in the 11th here can also be a time where you have to deal with stuff with friends, with groups of friends, or you're isolated from your friends or something like that. And having Saturn go direct is probably going to be a moment where those topics are a little bit louder, a little bit more significant. Because Saturn rules your 9th house of the meaning of life, religion, philosophy, this, I would not be surprised if Tauruses at this point are joining courses to learn things that they want to do long term, or just things that they've always wanted. Like if you've always wanted to do astrology, maybe now you join my course. No, that was a joke. Kind of. But maybe you join someone else's course. Maybe you've always wanted to learn about human design or mysticism, or, you know, something else that is just faith-based or has to do with beliefs or has to do with like expanding your horizons. For some Tauruses might be a time where you're ready to plan a trip. Although it will probably be work related or like the heavy part of that planning, just because it's Saturn. It's not like wee. But if traveling and foreigners and foreign languages are part of your hopes and dreams, this might be a time where you're like, okay, I want to step up and do this. It could also be, you know, because it's the 9th house ruler in the 11th, it could also be like using 9th house things to further your hopes and dreams. So using a language you've already learned to help the thing you want to go further, or using your belief system or a method of manifesting or something to create your dreams and make them more solid and real. Something like that. So that is what I have for Tauruses. And we are now going to move along to the next sign, which is Gemini. I'm going to change this little thing here. Let's see, can I do it? Yes, but it's going to take me forever. Okay, Gemini. Well, that's kind of a pain in the ass. I still want to do it though, because it's cool. Okay, there we go, Geminis. Saturn is going direct in your 10th house of career. Now, you should watch my Saturn and Pisces video to see where this puts you in the Saturn cycle, because it's a big moment, right? It's a big moment for Geminis back in March, excuse me, when Saturn entered your 10th house of career, because it's like whatever seed you've been planting for the last 14 years, now you get to see the fruit from that, you know, the fruit from that labor, especially if those seeds you were planting were like career oriented. And this is the time where the work, you know, it's like Saturn's reward for working hard is more work. It's like you get to do the work you've always wanted. You get that manager position. You get to step up and do it. You're ready. So Geminis who have been working hard and preparing themselves for some kind of professional goal at this time might be like, okay, you're ready. And now you get the chance to really see it through. I would just remind you that this transit only happens once every 28 years. So this is one I would say yes to. It's just me, but the ability to show up in life and work really is a gift that we often forget. I often forget. Okay, now Saturn is your 8th house ruler. So it's going to rule intimacy and transformation. So maybe your ability up until now of getting out of your comfort zone, something around that you've already done may be helping you. Your partner's money might be helping your career, might be funding something. You might be taking on some kind of debt and like investing in work in some way. That is not advice whether you should do that or not. That is just me saying the topic of debt or other people's money is really visible in your career at this point. You may notice something related to that happening around the 4th. Moving forward, coming online, being possible, that has been reworked for like 6 months or something. K10, get it, Gemini? So basically what we're seeing here is that ability to, again, maybe have a little more challenge in the workplace, maybe have more obstacles, but it could also be you being able to take control in the workplace, you being able to have some authority, you being able to follow the rules or being expected to, I don't know, it's almost like be the one who pushes the button right at the exact time. Geminis, let us know if that makes sense for you. And for those of you who are craving a longer forecast, we have a bunch of recent forecasts I've done on the eclipses and stuff. We did Venus trining Uranus recently, so you can always check those out as well. We're going to move on now to the next sign, which is Cancer. For Cancers, hold on, I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I ate something that makes me tired right before this. So if you notice me extra tired, that's one of the reasons. Okay, Cancer. All right, so oh, thank you, K10. All right, so we're going to Cancer now. So for Cancers, we have Saturn going directing your ninth house of hopes, or no, ninth house of lots of things: foreign languages, far off lands, travel, philosophy, astrology, the meaning of life, faith, and the law. All right, Saturn rules your seventh house of relationships. So this could be a time where if you are committed, this could be a time of renewing your vows. It could be, I don't want to say marriage because that feels a little too strong, but it's possible. It's possible, or it's possible that your husband or wife, if you're married, will be making their own commitments to their faith, so almost like converting to a new religion or like taking a vow of some kind related to some kind of belief, or, making a commitment that requires travel. It could just be your significant other doing this because it's your seventh house ruler. But let's say you're a Cancer and you are single. Well, that could be your friends contributing to, it could actually be a challenge where I would say just watch out for friends limiting you or like encouraging you to have fearful beliefs, or like making you scared of doing something you really want to do. That's kind of the feeling I get here, where friends might discourage ninth house stuff like travel and philosophy and belief systems. You might be exploring a new belief system and your friends are like, that's stupid, you're crazy. So just know that is possible. I also think of the sort of mental insecurity that happens with Saturn in the ninth, where people who have this natally are going to feel kind of like, just kind of like they're worried about looking stupid. Right? So like if they're around someone they think is more intelligent or knows more, they'll like use bigger words or like just be like, have a little bit more emotional charge around not knowing stuff. This might also be someone who's like, degrees are stupid. They're for stupid people. Which, since I have a degree, I mean, that's not always wrong. But the point here I'm trying to make is that this planet here, Saturn, in that ninth house, might limit, restrict, or slow down topics of belief, faith, or legal matters. Now, I do feel like the law could have something to do with this because the seventh house is a house of like attorneys and people on your behalf who are like working with you and representing you, attorneys, stuff like that. But it's in the ninth house of the law, and it's like, I don't know, there might be, for some Cancers, maybe legal stuff will be highlighted or kicking off or active at this time. Although I won't say that's everyone. I don't think all of you are getting, some kind of bad thing happening. Okay, so what else? I think that's all I got for Cancers. You can be committing to a course of study. Right. You could be signing up for college or signing up for some more in-depth study you want to do. You could be doing a course, like committing to it. And especially if like back in March you wanted to and couldn't, or it's something you started taking back in March, and now you're doing a next level that's like more commitment or somehow easier to get through or faster or just like you're more prepared. That could be happening as well. And, you kind of have to think about which ninth house topic relates to you on this Cancer. Does legal stuff relate to you? Does foreign languages and travel relate to you? Whatever of those topics, especially think back to what was changing back in March of 2023. And now that issue or challenge or obstacle or goal may be coming up, that difficult thing to overcome may be coming up. You might be ready to overcome something you tried to start overcoming related to that ninth house back in March. So that's what I have for Cancers. We're going to move on now to the next sign, which is going to be Leos. Let me find my chart here. Cancers, let us know if that relates to you, if you relate to that. And let me change our little thing here. All right, Leos. For Leos, we have Saturn going direct in your 8th house of sex, death, and other people's money. What does it mean, Leos? It means you may find that you, let me think about this. Some of you who want to get a loan, you might not be able to get a loan. The like traditional definition of Saturn in the 8th is when if you were relying on support from a partner, it stops coming. It is withdrawn. You have to be more dependent. You can't rely on other people's money as much because it is blocked. So if you are someone who relies on your spouse for income, this will probably be a stronger effect to you. Although it doesn't mean you're going to be poor now. It just could mean that your partner supported a thing for a couple of years and now they're like, okay, I'm not supporting that anymore. Or it could be something like, let me think about this. Something like, I don't know, you had a loan, now you got to start paying back the loan. Or other things like that where, right, because Saturn brings consequences. And so for some people, the consequences Saturn brings are positive ones, right? Consequences aren't always bad. If you've invested money, right, your investments might require more work from you. Usually, Saturn in the house requires more work. And because Saturn rules your 6th house of day-to-day work and it's in your 8th house of other people, your work might be more connected with your partner. Your work might be more tied up in other people's money, other people's sexuality, other people's secrets, other people's psychological stuff in some way. Now that could be, for those of you who are like doing counseling, well, maybe you start doing counseling or something around that time. But for anyone not doing counseling, it may not be that. But I will say Saturn in the 8th can have to do with psychological stuff and needing to face psychological stuff. So Leos, I really want you to think about this and just give yourself a break if you've had more fears happening, if you've had more fear of the unknown, if you've had more like stuff from the past come up since March. I'm not saying you have to. But if there's a bunch of skeletons hiding in that closet of yours, this might be a time where it's worth it to actually work on that. This would be a good time to put in effort to heal or recover from things related to, the 8th house rules psychology, but it's also like spiritual stuff. Some of you might also be learning the ropes when it comes to psychic work and spiritual work. Yeah, that kind of thing. So I'm trying to think of something cooler about this. Yeah, I do think this could get cool. This could get interesting with, okay, so Saturn in the 8th is kind of known to be more of like a sexual placement. And I think of like, what am I trying to even say? I think of like some kind of routine that takes you beyond to like another world. Because the 8th house is also like, when I see people doing ayahuasca, or I see them doing like a transformational training, eighth house stuff is lit up. So Saturn here, especially if you have already done some kind of transformation and now you're going back and doing more training on it, this might actually be aligned timing wise to use effort, work, or solid, clear, real, tangible processes to either create altered states of consciousness or to release challenges like traumatic stuff. Now, again, I'm not diagnosing that. I'm just saying that might be happening. Okay. Shakti, that is Pacific time. And I think it says that on the email. Going on now to the next sign, which is, I will say for Leo though, because I feel like I just talked about bad stuff. This isn't the worst part of the Saturn cycle because it's like, think back to Leo to like early 2021, December of 2020, and think about what about your work became more visible as when Saturn goes above the horizon and keeps going, it's like you're culminating the tree of your like hard work in life, is like culminating and growing and getting bigger, getting stronger. So I would see that as probably a positive for you. So there you go, something positive. Next one is Virgo. Virgos, you have Saturn in your 7th house of relationships right now since March. Now that doesn't mean bad things are happening in love necessarily. Sometimes when people have this transit, they get married and have kids because it's like, let me change the thing here. Because it's like, hold on, save. Okay. Because it's like they tend to have the topic of responsibility infused into relationships. And what can be more responsible than having to take care of a little angel, right? I mean, the commitment, the new level of commitment, even if you're in a committed relationship, sometimes there's another level of commitment. Now, sometimes when Saturn goes through your 7th, relationships become really hard. They become not worth it. And so what will happen, especially as Saturn goes direct, Virgos, I want you guys to pay attention to what's happening in your love relationships and your long-term friendships and who you have to say no to now that maybe you weren't ready to say no to before, or maybe you just hadn't dealt with, right? This will be a time where you it's almost like you realize that you can no longer tolerate something. You realize you have to set a boundary. Sometimes when Saturn goes through the 7th, you choose to leave a relationship or you choose to leave a friendship because you realize they are not worth it. Okay? You realize they're not worth it and you're like, enough is enough. You can't treat me like this. So, and because Saturn rules your 5th house of dating, it would not surprise me if single Virgos are like, almost like either having dating life be active, like maybe someone makes you an offer, maybe someone makes a commitment to you and they're like, I want to date you, or someone you're already dating wants to, I almost said go steady. I did that before like a week ago or something. I keep wanting to say go steady, like anyone ever says that anymore. But maybe someone wants to go steady, Virgo, but maybe if you're already in a relationship, this might be a time where it comes to a deeper level of commitment. So it's like when you're dating and they're like, will you be my girlfriend or boyfriend or something? But it can also be way more serious than that, right? So like, let's say you're in a relationship that's like leading toward marriage. I wouldn't say Saturday they're going to propose, but the theme of this relationship going to a next level might come up, or the theme of what responsibilities are we taking on together, right? Like, are we going to buy this house? Are we going to have this kid, right? Or if you already have a kid, kids could be a really big topic right now because the ruler of your children is going directing your house of partnership. If you have baby daddies or baby mamas, that might be something that changes or is activated, this Saturday. So this could be like a new custody thing where, different times the kid goes to the different places at different times or something. You know how like you renew those every once in a while or something like that. Now, Another topic that the fifth house represents is creativity and self-employment. So having creativity and self-employment in the seventh house is like the first visible house. So it may be that back in March, if your creativity or your self-employment became more visible at that time, this might be a time where now that you've worked through some things and gone back and redone some things, that visibility is heightened. There could also be some kind of, commitment in relationships. I mean, that's the kind of easiest takeaway here is some kind of commitment in relationships. Maybe you are kind of in a position where you need to make some decisions about people. That would be my like overall general forecast for all Virgos. But, again, if there's something in your life that you have to kind of say no more to, especially with Neptune here related to substance use or something, or something challenging related to money as well with Neptune and Venus opposite Neptune. There could be something hard to face here in love, and it's possible. Some people right now might be really feeling it with Neptune kind of dissolving Venus. At the same time, Saturn goes direct. It's almost like, realizing that something you thought was real is not. So it could go that way too. And that might be long-term stuff, or it could be shorter-term stuff, just depending on where you are in relationships. But overall, that's what I have. And be sure to watch my Saturn and Pisces video if you want more on what to expect from Saturn here. I am sorry to hear that, Lady Virgo. That is super sad. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next sign, which is Libras. Okay. And for those of you wondering, you can always watch your sun, moon, and rising. I love watching my rising every time, but man, sometimes when I can't even get through the moon forecast without it being like, oh my God, this is blowing my mind for myself. Like sometimes I have to stop myself when I'm reading Pisces because I'm like, oh my God, that's about me. Anyway, moving on to Libras who have Saturn entering your sixth house. And I will say I did just go through this transit and it's not my favorite one, guys, because you're busier. Since March, you've probably been busier. Sometimes it's like you have more work, but it doesn't necessarily go into anything useful to you, right? Because the sixth house is it's chores, right? It's work that we just have to do. And Saturn is there. Sometimes it's like your commute is longer while Saturn is in the sixth house. You have to do more work to do the same thing that you were doing before, but it's just like harder. Thank you, Lady Virgo, and thank you, Shakti. So ways this can be harder is you have more chores to do. You get paid less and have to work more to make the same amount of money. Sometimes you're going to be working on your health at this time because health stuff will come up. This is not advice at all. But it's like if you are a Libra who has had health issues that you have not addressed, especially if they're related to diet or exercise or things that are sixth house related, this will be a time where your body says, we got to deal with this. And sometimes when Saturn's in your sixth house, also you're going to be focusing on doing things more efficiently. This is a really good time to work your butt off because, you might just have to. But when Saturn in 2.5 years hits the horizon, this will be the time when the tree that you planted like 10 years ago or something, maybe not 10. Why can I not do math? Maybe 6 or 7 years ago. That's the right number. It's like, so right now, let's say about 5 years ago, what seeds were you planting with your career and your work? When Saturn goes through the sixth, this is your rocky cutscene. This is where you get to work on it. Okay. This is where the hard work comes in and hits you. This is where, if you weren't really pulling your weight in your job, you're going to get fired. This is where, you know, and that doesn't mean you can't, everyone gets fired or you can't recover from it, but job losses sometimes will happen here because it's like whatever you haven't dealt with that success, this is going to come up for you to deal with. So it's a time where you might need to put a little extra effort into your work, into accomplishing things. And there is a good thing about the success is that the things that you create or accomplish during that transit, sometimes, not always, sometimes they can end up paying off later. So it's like this is the time you might build the skills to become the person you want to be. It might not be the time where you get to reap the rewards of being that person. Lots of work for Libras, but let's consider that Saturn rules your fourth house of home and family. Some of you might be working more because you have more family stuff happening. And so it might be more of a welcome thing where, you know, you're putting more attention into taking care of others and you might not be getting anything back, but it's okay because that's what you would want to do. So there's that, you know, that possibility that what you're investing in and the more work and the more sort of chores that you're taking on are chores that, I don't know, maybe some of it's like your kids are leaving their socks on the floor and you need to make them stop and it's like annoying and it's just making more work for you. But it can also be work that you love doing. It could be, you know, making sure there's a pot of soup on the stove or, you know, other things that you enjoy. So just because Saturn's in the sixth doesn't mean you have to hate it. I certainly hated this transit, but I was not making soup on the stove. So we're going to move on to the next sign, which is going to be Scorpio. For Scorpios, let's get our little thing up here. Okay, for Scorpios, we have Saturn going direct in your fifth house of fun, sex, romance, kids, self-employment, gambling. So the fifth house is the fun house. It's creativity. So Saturn here since March can be helping you stabilize your creativity and take something creative and put it into form. Sometimes when Saturn's here, you are getting feedback on how you express yourself. So it's a time to kind of take that feedback on and deal with it. If you want to work with, Saturn, right? Because I'm not here to make you guys do anything, but when you know what area of life is going to be the hardest for this 2.5 year period, I mean, I think that helps because what you do work on with Saturn, you'll get the gift of when Saturn leaves, and that's the good thing. Okay, that's the good thing. Now, it doesn't mean like don't get too optimistic about that, but you know, it's kind of like if you do push-ups every day, you get muscles, right? Like Saturn is very much consequences. So Saturn going direct in that fifth house for Scorpios can be bringing some stuff, some responsibilities related to kids. Also, the third house rules your siblings and it rules your car and it rules your local environment. So sometimes your kids will make your life a little harder when Saturn goes through here. Now, sometimes it's like if you're a grandparent, you know, maybe your kids are not watching their kids enough and you have to watch their kids, you know, it can be something like that. Or it could be like your kids doing soccer and you got to drive them places more for this 2.5 year period. It doesn't mean they're going to all be in juvie or something like I was. It can just be more effort, you know, more effort put into helping them or raising them or something like that. You know, like imagine they're I don't know, like even like let's say they're in high school and they're picking a college and you're helping them, you know. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just more effort. If you own your own business, this might be a time where you put more effort into that and you're wanting to kind of get serious about it or get committed to it. If you are dating, there might be weird stuff happening there. You might feel more blocked with dating. Now, for some Scorpios, if you're dating someone, you might want to go steady. I can't stop saying that now. That's going to be my new term. I keep saying go steady instead of like what a normal person would say. And so I'm just going to go with it. So, yeah, you might be going steady. And what else could you be doing? Communicating. You might be communicating in relationships. Pay attention to what happens here on Saturday, Scorpios, with the communication in relationship. Does some serious communication come along with someone you have been dating? Do you have a stern talk with your kids? Is there something else that just needs to be addressed and needs to be communicated? Are you feeling stifled, like you can't express yourself? Have you been feeling like you can't express yourself since March? If that's true, this might go on for a little while, this feeling like you can't really express yourself without getting some kind of pushback. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for that. There also may be more positive things with creative writing, especially creative writing more than anything, or just writing as an outlet, writing as a way to writing or speaking as a way to further your creative potency in life, further your ability to make an impact. I see that also during this time for Scorpio. Now, some of you, it's like you'll want to take a writing class, or you'll want to learn some kind of creative skill, like if you've always wanted to, I don't know, use your feet to throw flaming bow and arrows. This might be a time where you sign up for a course on that. I don't even know what that's called. Archery? But what kind of archery is that? I don't know. I just don't know. But maybe you don't. Maybe you want to like dance, or like paint, or draw, or make model cars or something. This might be a time where you're ready to commit to something you love. So again, that can be like a relationship with Jupiter there in your 7th and Uranus there, but it could also be someone you are ready to go steady with, or something else, anything you love. This is the time. And you may notice that on Saturday or around Saturday that it's like, okay, I'm ready to stake my claim and say, this is mine, I'm going after it. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. Okay, moving on now to the next sign, which is Sagittarius. For Sagittarius, let's get your name up here. Also, guys, readings are on sale. There is a link in the description. Sagittarius says, what's happening for you when Saturn goes direct? Well, it's in your 4th house of home. And you might be ready to make a commitment related to home. Especially think about whether that might have been changing or something happening related to home for you back in March. I wouldn't say you're going through the same thing again, but what are you ready to commit to when it comes to your home? Are you buying a house? Are you going to move? Are you getting roommates? Are you trying to be more independent? Are you moving in with someone? With your 2nd ruler in the 4th, some of you want to buy a house. Some of you want to put a down payment on an apartment or something. Some of you want to invest money into a home. Now, some of you on Saturday might be investing money into a home, like it might just be something more significant related to what you're spending on, like securing something. It feels more committed, like not just paying your rent for the month, but like signing a lease, or making an agreement to stay a certain amount of time, or perhaps beginning the process of looking at like where you want to live, and especially if you've been avoiding stuff related to the home like I have. Because Neptune's there too, going, oh, I wish I had this place. I wish I lived here. I wish I lived there. But there's no solidness in any of that. And some Sages, I know you guys, some of you guys are just going around like Sages do, and living wherever you want, and just taking your suitcase and flying off in the distance. And there might be something where it's like, even if you're going to continue doing that, because you're a Sag and you always probably will on some level, travel and have life be an adventure. But this might be a time where you're like, all right, but the adventure needs a home base. You know, the quest needs a home base in order to fulfill the mission. So, the home base, what is home base right now? What do you want it to be? How far are you from what you want? And yeah, K10's saying, been avoiding the shit out of this, but really want a home now. I'm a Sag sun and I'm feeling it too. Like, enough is enough. I got to figure it out. So you might be feeling like, some of you might just be like, okay, I'm putting in the down payment. But others, it might be more about, okay, what do I need to be able to put the down payment? What's the long-term plan here? Now, the fourth house is also our emotional foundation. So Saturn here can also have you being more willing or more needing to deal with emotional stuff that's not dealt with. So that can be things like, if you needed to get some counseling or something for some stuff, especially with Neptune here, some avoidance issues, you know, it might be a time where you're like, okay, I'm ready to do that. If you know, if there are processes that help you just kind of connect to your innermost self, connect to your intuition, because Saturn in the fourth, this in a natal chart is intuitive. So you might be feeling like, okay, I need to do the work to get connected to my intuition. So that's things like maybe cutting out caffeine, or maybe taking time to create that quiet, you know, because Saturn in the fourth, you know, as a natal placement, again, this would be someone who likes being in a walled room by themselves, like their home. So it's like when you're at home in your room and there are walls around you, it's like there's a feeling of safety because you know you are home, and it's like nobody knows what you're doing, and like you just have your privacy, you know, and you can pick your nose and nobody's judging you, or whatever it is that you like to do. When you are in the privacy of your own home, walk around naked, whatever you want. Okay. So Saturn in the fourth kind of puts us in touch with our need to have a certain amount of privacy, a certain amount of sort of mental calm, you know? So how much mental calm do you need in order to be okay? And what do you need to be okay? That's going to be the topic here. And maybe on Saturday, there might be some kind of realization around this, like, oh, I need to start journaling again, or oh, this therapy session really helped me, or again, I'm not advising that, or, you know, prescribing anything or diagnosing anything. But it might be a time where naturally you have to deal with the consequences if you haven't been taking care of your emotions. And you may need to step up and be like, okay, let's deal with this. Let's deal with this so that we feel okay and safe and stable in our nervous system. So for Saggies, it's home and emotional stuff. Moving on now. And Saggies, you guys can check out my Saturn and Pisces video if you want more on what Saturn and Pisces will bring. I made it when it entered, but it's still, everything I said is still valid. All right, we're moving on now to the next sign, which is Capricorn. Capricorn, Saturn is in your third house. Third house there, bringing a need to commit, to stabilize, make commitments to third house stuff like your car. So Capricorns, are you buying a car in the next year and a half, 2 years? Or do you need to like take care of your car? What's going on with your neighbors and stuff in your environment? Because Saturn here, you might be committing to a neighborhood or something. You might have challenges with neighbors. You might live in a weird environment and not want to be around your neighbors. There might be a focus on siblings during this time. This can be good or bad. But with Neptune here, it's almost like if a sibling isn't doing okay, you might have to step up and regardless of how old they are or how old you are. Saturn rules you, so you're going to be focused more on third house topics like communication. How did your communication change back in March? There might be something that feels like it's sort of stands out around Saturday, around your communication, your need to focus on learning. How are you whether you're being heard. You know, Capricorns usually don't say a whole lot unless they need to. And when Saturn is in the third, it's like you might be in a situation where you need to withhold what you would normally have to say because it's easier to just not say anything. So you might be in a situation like that. You know, it's also traditionally your money planet in the third. So again, investing in your car, buying a new car, spending time in your car, spending more time commuting, being busy. Saturn in the third can make you busy. Same with Saturn in the sixth. Saturn in the third, though, it might be more fun, kind of a busy where you're like learning stuff, you're going around, you're taking classes, you're mentally stimulating, kind of a busy. Learning copywriting, stuff like that. Gosh, I don't have that much more for you guys, Capricorns. It really comes down to like how you communicate what you know. If communicating what you know is a strong part of your life, this might be a thing too. You might be reading lots of books during this time. You might just want to read all the books. You might be committed to learning and it might just be for fun or pleasure. But that could be it. And that's kind of what I have here for you, especially with Pluto back in Capricorn. This feels like you might be ready to change something. That's kind of what I have for Capricorn. I'm going to move on now to Aquarius. Let us know in the comments, even if you're watching this after Aquarius or Capricorn, let us know if it resonated. And we're moving on to Aquarius. Okay, so for Aquariuses, ooh, okay, getting your car transported back home. Interesting. Okay, Aquarius, Saturn's in your money house. This isn't usually the most lovely transit. Let's do this a little so we can see it. Because it kind of makes your money be harder to come by or less of it, you know, or sometimes when Saturn's going through your second, you will voluntarily take a pay cut because you want to do different work and it's more rewarding and it's like that kind of thing. So sometimes you're choosing to live with less. Maybe, you know, if you had just had a kid and like only one of you wants to work, this would be an experience where you're choosing to live with less, that kind of thing. Or sometimes you get a pay cut or things are just a little more slow when it comes to money. I wouldn't say it has to be horrible the whole time. This is 2.5 whole years, but it might be something where it's almost like too, you are investing, you are focusing on money, lots of focus on money because, you know, Saturn rules you in traditional astrology. You're in the money house. So you're making the money. You're making the money, you're doing it, you're doing the work, you're working hard. Maybe you're gaining some other skills now that you think will make you more money later. So you might be committing to that. With Saturn being your 12th house ruler as well, there might be weird subconscious stuff related to money that has to be dealt with. This is totally a money transit for you. So I would say what's happening on Saturday related to your work, related to your money, related to how you invest in yourself. And also what, you know, some of you Aquariuses might be like making sacrifices for long-term goals. And it might be a time where, you know, with Neptune in that second house, it can put you in a state where like, la, 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 hopefully I make money someday, you know, and it's like you don't really want to deal with it. Saturn forces you to deal with it. So for Aquariuses who have been avoiding the hell out of money stuff, this will be a time where it's like, it's time to figure it out. You know, it's time to deal with it. Maybe because you have to in some way, but there can be a lot of good in Saturn going through your second in the sense that Saturn can be stabilizing and you might also be accumulating things. Some of you might be buying stuff because Saturn is like committing, right? And like locking things down. And the second house is money. So it's like buying a big ass heavy piece of furniture, buying something else really, really heavy that is like solid and permanent, a permanent fixture in your house or in your life, you know, buying something that is like you're going to have for the rest of your life. Or again, like making sacrifices so financially you can reach those big dreams that Neptune is calling you toward, and Saturn can maybe help with figuring out how, right? Because Neptune will put you in touch with the dream. It will not help you figure out how at all. If anything else, Neptune messes you up with the how, because you're so in touch with the future and the big dream, and oh, I want to be rich, I want to be a millionaire, I want money to be easy, and then it's like you can't pay the bills. So Saturn might help you pay the bills, or it might help you gain some skills. It might help you, it might force you to deal with some stuff, take care of your things. Especially if any of your things are being dissolved. Although I wouldn't say that's super strong. I just feel like Saturn is like furniture and stuff, and Neptune dissolves. So it's like, for some people, if you own a semi truck, maybe it'll get repoed. I don't think any of you own semi trucks, but you never know. And also, that was really just a maybe, not a for sure thing. Anyway, I'm trying to think of possible positive things. You can make some kind of contract or commitment here at this time, Aquarius, especially, or even just like a contract or a commitment to your own self saying like, this is what I'm going to do. So it might be a good time for things like that. So that's the positive note we're going to end on for Aquarius. And we're going to move on to, last but certainly not least, one of my favorite signs in the universe, Pisces. So for Pisces, Saturn is going direct in your first house of you. Okay, so this is, wait, it's not showing. There we go. So because Saturn is in the house of you, you probably notice some more responsibility happening back around March. Just more work to be done. Some of that responsibility maybe you took on willingly. Maybe it's stuff you know is totally worth it and you're willing to do. What can be happening now with this is, let's think about this for a second, because Saturn rules your 11th and 12th houses. So that's going to be your hopes and dreams and your friends, and the 12th house of subconscious stuff. So what does that mean? Your friends bring you responsibilities. Some groups of friends or groups you have to deal with somehow become more of a responsibility. Now that could be positive, right? So like, what could that be? Let's say you decide to do an event. Well, that's going to be a responsibility, but it's like a good one, right? So you're like, especially if you have an audience of some kind, or you have a bunch of people who you deal with, maybe now you're teaching them something, or maybe now you're more responsible for them, or maybe you're stepping up to something that somehow people are helping you, friends are helping you step up to. Responsibilities with friends are highlighted here. Hopes and dreams too. So maybe you are sacrificing for hopes and dreams, and there's something around Saturday that changes related to that, or that somehow brings the ability to sacrifice for your dreams more on the forefront, or, you know, makes it a little more of an exclamation point at this time. Or, you know, it could be kind of a pre-shadowing to how you're going to sacrifice, right? Because with Saturn in the first, you're going to. But this Saturday, maybe you can see more clearly how and why, and maybe have some fun with it, right? Because it's the ruler of your 11th house of like community and stuff. So communities somehow contribute to a sense of personal responsibility. That's not the worst thing ever, right? Having a community or having a group to help. Maybe some Pisces, especially if that's been lacking in your life, maybe Saturday is the time where you find people who need you, or you find a cause to be supportive of, or you sort of get connected to people, and there is a sense of responsibility, but it's also like, you know, to do things that are fun, or to perform, or to help groups of people. Adam's new band is getting gigs. That's awesome. Yes, new teacher. Yes, yes, that's a perfect example. I'm going to use you as an example here. When you're a new teacher, right, you have to make all the lesson plans that first year or whatever. And then after that, you can reuse them again. So you kind of know it's like worth it, right? Because you're like, as long as you stay teaching, you're going to reap the rewards of that. This is very much a Saturn first house thing because it can be things that are hard, but usually there's an element of sacrifice and duty, right? So duty to the people, duty to the kids, duty to the class, duty to the students or the friends, or let's say you're in a support group, or you volunteer somewhere, or let's say you have you work with a bunch of people and you're like responsible to report to them, right? So it's like a sense of duty or responsibility dealing with other people, and it can be in a positive way. And it's almost as if the people that need you are helping you. It's almost like when you have the student, you can be the full teacher, if that makes sense. And so I would look for that energy in your life around Saturday and coming up, of like, what area of your life are you being the teacher, metaphorical teacher? You know, like they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. How are you the teacher that just appeared for someone else? And I'm always going to say step up to the Saturn responsibilities, because the ability to step up to a responsibility is a blessing. And usually it doesn't feel like it at the time. It's like, shit, we got to do. But if you can help someone who is helpless and needs your help, then you got to do it. You know what I mean? Like, if you can, you should, because that's kind of what being human is about. Okay. So let me think of what else I can say for Pisces here. We have, that kind of plays into, and this was on my mind like today. So crazy. Saturn also being the 12th house ruler, and the 12th house ruling things like addiction and recovery, and people with mental health problems or spiritual maladies, people going through the dark night of the soul, all of these sort of challenges that are happen in isolation, happen in privacy where nobody sees them. And also things that many people do not understand, because they will just say, oh, you're just imagining it. Anything someone could respond by saying it's all in your head, that's a 12th house challenge. Because it's like, it is all in your head, but at the same time, it's like a lot of things are in our head. So there does kind of blend for Pisces naturally this sense of responsibility with the feeling of wanting to make the world a better place for people who suffer. Just having Aquarius ruling that 12th house, but having the planet that rules it in the first house, this is a part of your identity right now. Right now, Pisces, how are you identifying as someone who is helping the world, make the world better, helping people and stepping up and providing some kind of service, or being the one that other people can count on, even if what they're counting on from you is the ability to dream and get lost in another world, which is what Pisces are so good at helping people with. And for some, it will also be that soothing side, or that more healing side of Pisces that can be that where you disappear, right? Pay attention to things that you get lost in, that's related to helping a community of people and stepping up to make the world better. So I think that's a very, very nice positive note to be ending on here. And I do want to let everyone know that there's two things I want you guys to know, and I'm going to show this here. I can hide this. One is that there is a reading sale. So if you want to book a one-on-one with me, I highly recommend it. One-on-ones are great for a lot of things, especially like when you're feeling lost and you're feeling stuck, or if you just want a chart reading and you want to see what I see in your chart, or if you have like a pattern you want to know the root cause of in your life, or if you want to know how to work with the challenging stuff, or a bunch of other things. So you can click the link in the description to go straight to the page where the bookings are. And these are, I announced this today and they're already starting to get filled up. So be sure to book soon if you want to get in. You can wait until later. The sale ends on the 10th, but you just may not get the time you want. So there is that, number one. Number two, I'm doing an event on Saturday. This is free. It's a free event. And it is, oh shit, what is it? It's my free event on how to find your aligned career in your astrology chart. So we're going to look at where in the chart you can find all these different placements. This is a webinar style event, so you need to actually sign up to join us. I hope you do. It's free. It will be live. If you miss the live, you can still join and you can watch the replay of me basically telling you guys everything I can tell you in a free thing about career and what's possible. What is possible that you can see in the astrology chart. So we're going to talk about the different career houses and what they are and what they mean. And we're also going to talk about what happens if there are no planets in your 10th house. And we're also going to talk about why your North Node is not your career, and why you need to stop looking there. So if you want to know all that, you can join us. And let me see if I have the link in here. I thought I did. Yes, it's in here. And both of those links are in the pinned comment. So if you're on the live now, you can see that in the pinned comment. Thank you all for joining. And if you're just jumping on, or if you missed your sign, you can always go back and watch. We just did all signs for Saturn direct on November 4th for anyone who maybe just joined. So thank you all for, just everything you guys do. A lot of you have been supporting this channel for a while. A lot of you are coming on and commenting all the time. A lot of you have bought my courses. Some of you, have done my Saturn course. Speaking of Saturn, some of you have booked readings, and all of that. So thank you all for everything. We have passed 10K and we are growing so much faster now, thanks to everyone. And I will see you all, beautiful souls,